Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I need to stop with the accents every time.
That was an accent?
Yeah, that was an accent.
What was that one?
That was supposed to be British.
Oh.
The pole position.
Oh,
the
topical.
pole position podcast. My name is Creppy, and his name is Brian. And today we're going to cover the British Grand Prix.
You for sure said crappy.
I did say crappy.
Yeah.
Yep, that's my code name.
That's-
What a flippin' race. You know, what a race. What a result. Even though I am wearing this shirt, I can recognize a good race when I see one.
Is that one new? That one's
No.
sharp. I like that one.
This is probably worn 6 out of the 7 days of the week.
That one,
For
I like
me,
that one.
yeah.
I like with the little
Yeah.
Union Jack and everything on it. It looks good.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah. This was actually supposed to be signed.
Is this?
If friend of the pod Lando, you know, we met up with him, had lunch, but he got busy. Yeah.
It was a good idea. Did you
it
get
was a
that
great
one there?
idea.
No, you didn't
No,
get that one.
I bought it
this is
beforehand
beforehand.
because delusional me was like, hey, we're in America. No one knows what
It
Formula
was,
One
that was
is.
just going to be us two and Lando.
Us two in Lando. For context, guys, we were at this event in our hometown called Velocity Invitational. And just out of nowhere, Lando was going to show up because like the McLaren Formula One team was there. So we were like, oh, hell yeah. We're going to go meet up with him, take pictures with Lando. Zach Brown's there.
Yep.
Lando got there like at 3 p.m., I believe.
I remember he was supposed to be there, and they kept saying, "Oh, he's going to be here in like 20 minutes.
Right.
He's going to be like 20 minutes."
Yeah, and it ended up being like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Well, for context, people were lining up at 7 a.m. on the dot.
Yeah. And they started telling other people, I mean, you can get in this line, but it's only these people are going to be able to see him. So otherwise, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the weekend. What was that? Between Austin and Vegas. No, it was the weekend before Vegas. I don't know what the race before that was.
Yeah, exactly. But this, I think this might have overtook. I'm starting to realize like Silverstone, gorgeous track, beautiful track. I love watching the cars go around it. I'm starting to realize not by the track's fault, but by the car's fault as we've gotten to this later year. If it weren't for the rain, it would be pretty damn hard to overtake on this track. Like there's just not enough DRS overtake opportunities. And it's not the track's fault. It's the car's fault. Let me get that out of the way. But the weather you couldn't have asked for better weird conditions.
This was hands down for me. This was the best for me personally, the best race all year. And maybe there's a bit of a recency bias there. But
right.
For sure the best. And just like when I got excited about before Canada, like that's apparently a British summer. Like the weather really makes the whole thing. Because if there's no weather, it's a one stop and it's over in 50 minutes or something like that. And it's just quick. And so that place is cool though. That's one of the few where it is packed and you can hear the crowds through the TV.
Holy cow.
And and they go nuts for their guys. Like
and there's a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those. A lot of British folk up on the front of this I'm a conspiracy theorist. Was it not just a little bit weird that for the British Grand Prix, like just the top 3 were the British driver? Like no one could come fourth or something. Like Max just had to not be in the top 3. Max just had to get damage.
That was
what's going on here, Formula One.
So yeah, I'm sure they rigged that for. Then following that train of thought, shouldn't Logan have won Miami? Trust me, I don't want to get those people started. I'm telling you, I go down a rabbit hole on the people leaving comments about Logan on stuff. That's a whole. We can make an episode about it. It's absolutely insane.
In my heart, Logan Sargent won the Miami GP.
That definitely his best race. That was definitely his best performance.
Well, are you talking about the Miami GP?
So
This one.
This one was, yeah.
This one was incredible. We'll get into Logan Sargent.
In your heart, he won Miami. He didn't get taken out by K-Mag.
Yes, I think because this is such an insane weekend, we should, in order to organize our thoughts, try and be chronological. So I think we should quickly, very quickly, because this race talk is going to be long, just buzz over qualifying. And what were your thoughts on it?
I was just thinking that this was the best. This may be the best whole weekend because that was one of the most entertaining qualifyings I've ever seen. And again, because the weather played a part, but that was. It's something about this track that when they go through the S's there, and it's just it looks so sweet with the change of direction. Like it's just amazing. I don't have the. I think I could list all the turns, but I could not list them like in the order they are. Right?
Yeah. And because Ruth Buscom, they called Maggots and Beckett something else, like a technical term. I forget what it is, but there's so many. Like there's the fan name, the popular name, and then there's the actual technical names of them. I was trying to keep up with it.
I still think it's a super trip though that the main straight is the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight, and he's got a part of the track named after him that he's racing. It's all very
crazy,
weird meta.
There's one thing. If I dared go back to FP1, I know you listen to the Sky Sports broadcast, but I listen to the F1 TV broadcast. And when I tuned in for FP1, I heard a different gentleman that was not my boy Jakesy.
I listened to that one too a little bit.
And I was like, okay, not a big fan. It's just FP1. Jakesy's going to be here in the evening. FP2 came by. Still no Jakesy. And I'm like, okay, qualifying, British Grand Prix, Jakesy is going to be here. And I have to, I don't know who he is. I might get in trouble right now by saying this.
Ben something. But go ahead.
But I'm going to let, you know what? We started a podcast to talk about our real thoughts. I almost watched qualifying on mute, to be honest with you. I was this close. I was this close to watching This dude just like kept saying something, and then Julian Palmer was like, no. That's actually wrong. It's more like, and he was like, I know Jakesy, he's the commentator. He says the obvious a lot. He has some Buxton qualities to him.
Yes.
But this guy was on a different, I swear I heard him say, the slowest times in qualifying will be knocked out 8 times.
I would say that Jake's he's got like the most intense like radio voice that I've ever heard.
It's insane.
Yeah, like I wonder what a normal conversation was, because everything is the most amazing thing. And so I do agree. The change is always weird. You're like, this isn't the way I like it. Please go back. Rewind, start over.
Back. Please.
But, I like having Paul in there. No, that qualifying was so good that I did watch. I'd call me a weirdo, but I watched the Sky Sports broadcast, and then I rewatched it with the F1 TV broadcast.
Okay, wait. So what did you think?
It's the same thing, but it's almost like a totally different thing because you're hearing someone else's point of view, and I really appreciate Palmer. I think
I love Palmer.
Tops.
Yeah, Palmer saved the race commentary for me, because like the qualifying commentary, this Alex dude or whatever, I mean, there was a million times when I was just like, please just let Julian talk for the love of me.
I wasn't super offended. He's got a old-timey quality to his voice, but I do agree. It's just not. It's not the same.
It's not Jakesy.
It's not Jakesy. So it's just like
he must have been sick or something.
I think they did a lot of this with the triple header. He's probably in the stands, like out there camping with the rest of them.
It's his home race, right?
His home race. So I think we may think it's easy, but I would imagine the effects on your voice, especially in a triple header with travel, I would imagine that maybe they need a little bit of a break. But you're right, though. You would think this one is like their jewel in the crown race. So, anyways, But so
I agree with you.
Aside from the announcing, I think was spectacular. Of course, it was very nice to see the boys in blue doing very well. I listened to the onboard again. Albon did start to rip his engineer for a second. The guy was like, mate, you're P9, you're good. And he just like stopped the yelling. That was pretty good.
Albon's getting fired up. Yeah. Logan was there, baby. Yeah. If Logan got into Q3, that would have been the happiest part of my weekend.
Did you hear how amped he was about, like, what's his name? Gayton, I think is his last name. His engineer is like trying to give him stuff, and like, woo! I was good there.
I was very good. I was perfect.
Let him have it.
And then Merck's got a front row lockout.
I did not see that coming. Even with the better pace, it really was fairy tale like, right?
Yeah.
The home Grand Prix. I was impressed. Like, and you could see Hamilton was a little ticked at the end that he got pipped by Russell. But still, a 1-2. So
Russell is in the form of his life, right? That dude is Russell.
He's a goofball.
I've turned a 180 on this guy, man. I think he's a goofball, and he's so funny. But hopefully one day we'll look back and see, hey, this random kid George Russell was pretty evenly matched, if not getting the best of Lewis Hamilton on quite a few occasions. Pretty good guy. And I'm not saying that to take down Lewis. Lewis is GOAT. George is driving his hiney off.
I think I don't know about you, but you just sort of got used to Lewis not winning. So you kind of, or at least I kind of countered, like, that was going to be the highlight, right?
Right.
Starting at the front row lockout was going to maybe a podium.
Right.
Because he had a podium somewhere else too, right?
It was just recently. It was in. Oh wait.
Yeah, because
where were we? It was while I was away. I thought.
Was it Barcelona?
Wait. Oh, this is poor from us.
I think it would have had to be the ones we didn't talk about because it didn't sink in. But either way, I guess my point is that I have just sort of like, he's top notch, he's good, but his winning days are over. And boy, was I wrong.
Right. Yeah, and then they have, Lando and Max, who are, the creme of the crop right now, right behind him. But okay, so let's get into the race now, because this is going to take forever. I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, I am getting exhausted with Max and Lando starting on the same line on the grid, because 100 times out of 100, Max is pipping Lando's spot. I am so sorry, Lando. Friend of the pod, love you dearly. If Max is the spot below him, I would bet my life savings at the end of the lap, Max is ahead of Lando.
I agree with you. Certainly from the jump, right? At the beginning, yes. But this is, in the past, I agree with you 100%. Yes. Max gets in front. Lando doesn't have the most spectacular starts. Max gets in front, and usually a gap develops.
Right.
That definitely was not the case yesterday.
No. And we learned a little bit about why that happens, why that gap starts and then it closes, and it's tire degradation, really. I mean, the Red Bulls, or Max, kind of struggled with it, but Jolyon Palmer said some crazy stat that, I mean, Lando's only started P1 once, so it doesn't really mean that much, but Jolyon said Lando has on average, a better end of lap 1 position starting P2 than P1, which is hilarious.
It is kind of weird, especially when you think lap 1, the DRS is not available yet.
Right.
And this is kind of my point for as we go here. I mean, you kind of just said it. He's only been P1 the one time, or been up there the one time. I think McLaren has been exposed a little bit here as not Just this is a hot take of mine, real hot. I
got to go in about Williams coming a little bit.
McLaren is not used to being at the front yet. Does that make sense? So there's a lot of trial and error stuff. Look, these guys have been, I'll be honest with you, the upper end of mediocre for years and years and years.
Okay.
They now have a car that is, it seems on pure pace, is faster than the Red Bull. It is the fastest car in this moment in time.
And for the foreseeable future.
I do think that some of this is being exposed as far as what to do with that pace and how to manage a race from the front. And I'm absolutely not saying that they're not going to figure that out. I think if you talk to anybody on that team, they're going to say we learned a lot the hard way during this race.
Right.
So I think we'll only make them stronger. So yeah, I'm kind of poo-pooing on them a little bit, but what I'm actually saying is I think this is a trial and error on some of this stuff and that they're figuring it out as they go.
You know, that's actually a very valid point, and I was waiting to poke a hole in that, but that's 100% what it is right now, right? Because Lando won in Miami, and he deserved that win, but a lot of things out of his control went towards his way. McLaren has had, it feels like the last 6 races they should have won. Like, genuinely, they were in a position to win.
And I think they know that too.
They definitely know that.
Did you see Lando post-race?
Lando was very
just
upset. Did you
super downer about the whole thing. He's just like, clearly it's my fault, all this kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Do you think, I wanted to go back and listen to the onboard. I haven't had time yet. Was it Lando's call? Okay, wait. Let us slow down.
Yep. That's the end of the race.
We're horrible.
Yeah.
Race starts. The Mercedes get away. Max pips Lando. And the start of the race is looking, and then Charles just somehow just launches up like right behind Carlos. But we're going to focus on the top 4 or top 5 because that's what this race is really about. Right away, the Mercedes, everyone pretty much stays the same for the first few laps. When it's dry, it was looking a little like nothing was changing, really, at all. Everyone was staying still. And then the raindrops started falling. And instantly, this race went from a B+ to an A++++ because right away, early laps, teams and drivers are forced to make a difficult call, intermediates or slicks, because there's one rain cell passing over that was on the smaller side, 10 minutes is what they were saying. And then a second one, which is supposed to be much larger. So everyone was waiting out the second one.
Yeah. It was like how long? It was because of that, the gap between the second one. The first one was going to get a little dicey. The second one was supposed to be much bigger. End up being much bigger. But in between, there was going to be a gap where, if it's dry, the intermediates are going to get absolutely chewed up.
And we saw that.
Did you see the Max one? I just saw that again. There's like rubber just literally like shooting off of his tire.
Oh, yeah. And if you look at Checo and Charles, who, when it started raining, tried to get on an aggressive strategy and go to the intermediates, and then they try to stay out, and for that second cell of rain, those tires were cooked. You can't, those intermediates are basically soft. Like they're like softs for the wets.
Yeah.
And they get cooked quick.
The second you're driving on dry track, they're not made for that. That's how they're made for. And that's why they start getting puddle hunting and that kind of stuff. But this was way beyond that. So anyways, so then immediately a strategy decision was forced upon teams and drivers.
Yes. And the front runners, it felt like everyone, like all of the people on the pit wall, and I have something to say about this later. Everyone on the pit wall was like they checked in with Lewis, like, are inters, like, is it, Lewis, we're thinking inters. Lewis is like, no. And that, I'll talk more about this in a little bit. But
an emphatic no. Nope.
Yes. No. And everyone was on edge because no one knew, slicks on, that's dangerous. Even if you're going to save time, that's not even taking into consideration how so many things could go wrong with slicks on wet. But front runner stayed out. And as soon as it started raining, McLaren just got Godspeed out of nowhere. Just Lando passes Max, then Piastri passes Max, and then Lewis, of course, prevails and passes George, but then Lando and Piastri just scorch past the Mercedes. I mean, I had it in my notes. It felt like all of this happened within the course of a lap or two. And it was...
The McLaren's passing Max was eye-opening because they both sort of breezed past and took off. Like, I don't know what was going on with the pace of that Red Bull. Like you're saying, right. The tire deg was a problem, but it was sort of surprising. He didn't even make a move. We all worried about, Austria 2.0. He didn't even attempt to block or defend in any way. He just, all right, go ahead and go. Right. And maybe that's a smart move. This guy still ended up in second at the end of the day. But
just crazy.
So yeah, you're right. They breezed past, and it was fun because also before that, you had Hamilton passing Russell. I was surprised we didn't hear any spicy radio about that, but it all seemed everybody was cool with it. It was clean. I could have seen that going back and forth, but so Lewis gets his few laps to shine in the front. Everybody's happy. They go home.
Yes. And instantly, you start seeing Lando and Piastri creeping up. And, there's a McLaren in P1 and there's a McLaren in P2, and I am ecstatic.
This is what I told you. So my note says McLaren sitting 1-2. Happy crepe. I was, and then not only that, I was worried, is this just the pace in the wet? But then when it started drying out, that gap was starting to get up, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and Piastri was on Lando's tail too. It wasn't just Lando running off with this. Piastri was, this was looking like a no doubter P1, P2. But as all good things must come to an end. And this is where I've been actually avoiding thinking about this all weekend. And I do my post-race song recaps, and I talked a very minimal amount about this part. But here comes the second bit of strategy. The second rain cell comes in, and man, McLaren. They had an opportunity to try something different. And the obvious different thing was put this guy, it's raining. It's already raining. So let's put one guy on the intermediates a little early and see how it happens. And let's put this guy on the intermediates when, it's looking like everyone else is going to do it. But they decided, no. Let's put one guy on the intermediates when he's supposed to, and then one guy after the track is starting to literally get downpoured on. I think they even were a lap late on the guy you're supposed to. I think they were behind. Max, and this is kind of my point where I think they were a little gun shy. They didn't necessarily want to be the first one to make the call. Because they're we're sitting 1-2, and I understand, it's easy for me from my couch to second guess their decisions, but they're sitting 1-2, looking good. This weather is, it's as expected. There's no guarantee, right? So, and I think they were just hesitant to make that call from the get-go, and then they were also extremely hesitant to double stack. Because are you going to lose some time if you double stack? Yes, you will lose some time. Would they have lost as much time as they did lose using the strategy that they took? I don't think so at all. I think they lost, and I think the number one loser out of all this was Piastri. And I think
he was robbed.
I think that because he was giving Lando some trouble, and I could very easily see Piastri being in front of this race had things stayed the same. No, they didn't.
Piastri could have won it.
I think so too.
Piastri was half a second behind when Lando went to the pits.
Yeah.
Max, so the Mercedes double stacked. It went beautifully for them.
Yep.
And they had more of a gap between them, to give them credit. The decision was easier to double stack. And then I think Max pitted that early lap, if I'm not mistaken. Which, of course, flipping Red Bull always it seems like with Max, they always just nail it. Like, I feel like
when you spend so much time at the front, you know how to make a decision and when to make it. And you don't necessarily second guess it.
No, you don't. They don't care. They don't, because honestly, it's because Perez is not up there. It simplifies it. They're not worried about the teammate.
Right. Yep. You're absolutely right about that.
I guarantee McLaren, they're on the pit wall like, we got to cover off this person and we got to make sure, we're going to pit them separately so we make sure Mercedes doesn't overcut, or whatever, yada, yada. With Max, and this is again, I'm pretty sure Max had input on to pit that lap. I'm pretty sure Max was talking from the cockpit. And this is where I want to get into my rant a little bit. I think this, I've thought this since I became a fan, really. And this is kind of proving my internal thoughts that I've been scared to share because they might sound a little dumb, but there's some truth to them. I sometimes do not understand the need of a pit wall to make decisions for the driver. There is one man in the car. There is one man that can feel how the car feels. There's difference between looking at screens and showing data, which, if we look at the first cell, the data would probably say, throw in the intermediates, you'll be faster. Compared to being in the cockpit and Hamilton saying, no, that's not the case. And this is, I think, one of those, that's like...
Yeah. So I think that there's some validity to what you're saying. I think that for this decision, the decision to go from slicks to inters or from inters to slicks is 100% the driver, because they're the ones that are in the car, can feel the road and the grip.
Right.
That should be their decision. Sure, the pit wall can suggest it. Now, for other strategy decisions, when you're talking about dry tires and things like that, I would only say that the pit wall has the full picture.
That's true.
And so they can see what's going on around. But I think for your point, and in this case, is it time for inters or is it time for slicks? Should be 100% the driver.
I agree. Yeah, no, actually, now that you're saying it, that makes sense. The dry race, totally understandable. And there's probably a bunch of other things, right? They help with, obviously, telling the gaps to drivers. But I just think, and I really need to listen to the onboards, because I need to know if it was Oscar and Lando that called it like this, or if it was the pit wall that called it like this.
So a big thing that came up, though, was there was so much discussion for McLaren. There was so much back and forth where they were suggesting and then asking, and they're like, well, we could do this or we could do this. And what it really sounded like was kind of our whole bigger point, indecision.
Right.
And ultimately that indecision cost you, ended up making you pull the trigger a lap too late, and you screwed the pooch on it. Did they need to go to inters? Yes, they did. They just needed to go on it. They needed to go on it sooner. And Lando was already a lap too late. Piastri was 2 laps too late. Like
Piastri's,
that gap was gnarly by the time Piastri finally got in. Like he came out like 5th or 6th.
I believe he lost 20 seconds that lap. He was out.
And you would not have lost that if you double stacked. And again, hindsight is 2020, but you would have probably lost, I would say, maybe more than 5 seconds, around the 5-second mark. Certainly not more than 10, and not anywhere near 20 something that they actually ended up losing.
No, I actually think I think you're 100% right. Actually, it's indecision, and I think McLaren and this is going to be my main argument to any holes you try and poke in the McLaren this weekend. They still scored the most points out of any team.
Yes,
regardless of how bad they messed it up. They are just no matter what the pit wall's doing, no matter how the race ends up. Lando and Oscar, you can almost just always count on them getting the maximum out of the car they're in. And it's like, I think that's what's going to make them the favorite for this Constructors Championship. I think that is what's... Now, Lando, this is another conversation we need to have. Lando just needs... He's in the right mentality now that he deserves the win. That was his problem, right? He was like, so rollover dog, Max, I'm going to lose to Max every time. But now he knows he's in the fastest car. He knows he deserves a win. But he almost like, whenever McLaren is in the lead, I feel it from my couch. Exactly what you're talking about. That jittery, like, we don't want to mess this up.
Yeah.
From the driver, I mean, I could feel it from Lando, and I can feel it from, the strategy calls. Because this isn't the first time. Remember Canada, when, looking back, Lando could have pitted, actually, under that safety car, and for some reason, they stayed out. So, this is not new for McLaren. I think you're 100% right.
Yeah. And I do think that this is one of those, will only make them stronger. There's a lot of smart people there. And I have to think that there's a lot of learnings to take from this. And now the question is, can you apply those quickly? Right.
Right.
Obviously each situation is unique. But I think 100%. I know I'm agreeing with myself. I think the talent and the capability are 100% there. They could have and maybe should have won several of these last few races. Mm-hmm. Certainly Canada. I don't know if Austria was going to happen, but they were in it to win it. So yeah. But it certainly made for, and this is why I love the rain. It made for, and look, and this was not unique. This was not unique. I know we've kind of zeroed in on McLaren here, but this added jeopardy for all the teams, and it made it so much more interesting. So,
right.
All right, let's pick up the pieces. Where are we at?
So this is the second. So that intermediate stint. What was at the end of that? So, and then that's the first of the McLaren bad calls, because then we have another one, which is this intermediate stint. Is Lando's still in the lead, right? Or does he lose it? No, he's in the lead.
No, he's in the lead. He doesn't lose. He loses the lead on the second. The enters the slicks.
Yes, but Piastri falls to flipping.
Yeah,
he's behind Sainz at this point. I think
behind Sainz, who had a weird, not horrible race, but
it was
just sort of
pretty spectacular.
Yeah, because you could see, you look at on the timing screen, it was those top 5. No, it's top 5, right? So because Hülkenberg was in 6th, which is amazing. We should talk about that. But the gap from 1 through 5, they were like within 10 seconds of each other. And then there was like a 16 to something odd gap from 6th.
We forgot about poor George Russell. That's why the numbers weren't adding up. George Russell, did you catch some
that was shocking.
Failure?
It just
that got blown under the radar.
It just, because there wasn't a peep about a problem, right? Because he went through that first pit stop. They were still up there. It was, they were, I guess, 3-4 behind the McLarens. Or no, I'm sorry, they were 2 and 3.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was.
Wait, I thought Russell. No, I think Max might have passed.
Did they pass him? All right,
yeah, he passed Russell.
They're in the top 4. They're fighting at the sharp end in the front. But it was just sort of out of the blue with no warning whatsoever. It was just, and it sounded like that radio call was Pitt to retire the car. I think that may have been the first time he heard about it too. I haven't listened to their onboards. There's actually, I might be go back and look at that. That sucks.
Home race.
Especially when you look at the end result. Obviously, Lewis ends up winning with a little help from some of but it's part of racing with some of the McLaren decisions. But, with those same decisions, I think Russell could have easily been fighting for a win at this too.
At least a podium.
Yeah, for sure.
At his home race.
Yeah. And that sucks for a guy. You get pole and it's absolutely nothing that he did wrong.
Nope.
So
that's got to be a little. I mean, this sucks no matter what.
No.
But the fact that he was taken out of this race because of something out of his control, there's got to be some part of him that's still happy about getting pole.
And then your teammate wins, even if he is like a living legend. Your teammate wins in the same car. Yeah. So it's just
stings a little
this
bit.
is one of those things. He'll be that dork will be better for it. He'll be all right.
So we have Lando, Lewis, Max, George. He retires. Then Sainz, Piastri. Piastri passes Sainz pretty easily, if I remember. And then Lando is I think it was still about a 3-second gap. And Lewis was kind of closing the gap a little bit, but it was staying consistently there, but the track started drying out quickly. So I want to hear your unbiased notes for the end of this race here.
I think McLaren lost this race. Is what I think happened.
Here.
I think, and Lando specifically, I think the first pit stop lost the race for Piastri, and I think the second pit stop to go from inters to slicks, it handed Lewis the win. Now, I'm not trying to discount Lewis's win. I would say it's similar to Miami, where Lando could have won that race, but the safety car definitely helped him out. Right? I'm not saying it necessarily won it for him, but so he kind of handed it to him because Lando has just a bad. I mean, he doesn't stop on his marks, which it's just almost crazy that it's that easy. But that 2 seconds, okay, and you can watch it from when they play it over the above shot. He overshoots, and all the guys are sitting there ready, but they all have to move over, and you're carrying a 18-inch tire for you guys. Everything is just a little bit of because I think it was like, what did it end up being, like a 4-something stop? But
stayed on the dries, and they went to the intermediate 3-stop.
No, I'm sorry. I'm saying the length of the that's weird.
What? We're in Discord right now, and balloons just popped up. How did I do that?
That's from your.
Whoa! Peace sign, I guess. I am an old man.
So he just has a bad stop, and I think, unfortunately, that's on Lando for that. It was likely, even if it had been a 2.9 second stop, he was going to come out either just in front of Hamilton or alongside Hamilton. I mean, I think there would have been some racing at the front there. But basically the undercut worked for Mercedes, and they remembered what it was like being in the lead all those years. Yeah. Because it's a lot of the same dudes.
Bono.
And they picked the right time to pit. They had a solid pit stop, and then it was over. And then, And then the other mistake was, I do not know what they were thinking taking the soft tire. There was too much more race to go, and because he didn't have a chance to work them in because Lewis passed him right there. Yeah. He was going balls to the wall, and probably destroyed those tires, and that was over. It was over. And this again was before that pit stop. There was a bunch of back and forth with the McLaren pit wall and Lando about what do you want to take the soft to fight or to defend against Hamilton, or the medium to defend against Verstappen, and sort of the way. And there was just some indecision. And I think ultimately Lando's the one that chose the soft.
Right.
And I just think there was too. And again, hindsight, me from my couch, I get it.
Because Max on the hard tire was blisteringly quick, and then Piastri on the medium almost caught Lando by the end of the race.
So Piastri was on the right tire. And what I'm saying is, if everything was the same and Piastri doesn't get, they do the stack the pit stop at the beginning and do the same combination of compounds, I think Piastri wins that race.
Yeah, I do too, because Carlos got the fastest lap, but
and I think that's a lot of the reason why Lando was Debbie Downer afterwards, is because I think ultimately the pit wall was indecisive about what tire to use, and he says the soft, and that's what they go with, and it turns out to be the wrong tire.
Yeah, I think that hurt him, because at the end of the day, yes, the intermediate pit stop cost him a little bit of time, but Lando was still in the lead by comfortably. So
I don't even think it was a new soft. I think it may have been a used soft.
Yeah, and the craziest part is they had a new medium.
That was the one. That's the
tire. Yep. So Lando, I think ultimately, I think McLaren cost Piastri this race. I don't think McLaren cost Lando this race. I think Lando cost Lando this race.
I would agree. I would say yes. The pit wall really hurt Piastri. I don't want to put it all on Lando. I think a combination of of them definitely lost this race and handed it to Lewis.
Right. The McLaren pit wall did not help Lando at all. But it was. Lando made a good amount of the decisions. So Lewis. Max was close. Max got a little closer at the end. But Lewis Hamilton wins the dang British Grand Prix. And I'm not massively fond of Mercedes. The Lewis Hamilton dominance, as I've said before, was before my fandom. But I was hit in the emotions.
I agree. But having said that, I'm good on that Mercedes stuff now. All right, you got
all right.
Russell got 2 wins. Lewis got 1. All right, let's knock this off.
Let's get back to the championship fight at hand.
So I agree. It was emotional for that dude. Now, I gotta imagine it was like 945 days that he hadn't won. That's what I'm saying. It just seemed like winning was over for him. So it was just it was super
huge.
cool. Home race. It was like, movie ending kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was cool.
And then him with the flag. That was insane. Honestly, that's going to be a moment looked back at forever in Formula One history. That's a huge. And then Lewis's speech after talking about how, he opened up a little bit, saying he didn't feel like he was that guy anymore. And who can blame him? After 2021, that's a hard season.
When you win at the pace he was winning, because he was basically Max.
Right.
And he won. The guy's got 104 wins now. That's absolutely insane.
Absurd.
Max has 70, 60 or 70. I don't know. He's got a lot too. But it was really cool. I would have felt totally if it had been Russell with the car that worked winning that, I would not feel the same way. I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Oh my God. When you think about Max Verstappen, I'm sure Lewis Hamilton has a crazy ratio like this too, but 197 races he's been in. He's been on 107 podiums out of those 197. That is...
See? That's crazy. And he'll have a hard time too someday when he slows down, and it's going to be...
I think
so Lewis, I can understand it.
There's so many things, but yes, all around I mean, this is a conversation for the next podcast because I don't even want to get into this now. But buyer's remorse, Lewis Hamilton. It's not looking great for Ferrari right now.
And actually, so let's hit on a little bit some teams down the field here, because yes, I don't know what Ferrari did, but
let's Ferrari, talk about your team.
Ferrari. I mean, they went back to the Imola spec car. That seems drastic. So something their development made a wrong turn.
Right.
It took the wrong fork in the road.
From my understanding is that the current, they describe it as a tree, and the current branch they're on has reached the peak of where it could go. And they realized they can't push this model of car further, so they have to go back to the trunk, the Imola spec, and kind of try a new branch. Yeah. But it feels like Ferrari just has a really difficult time with in-season development because they always start off so strong and then they just they kind of. But
it can't be all wrong. Like I said, Sainz is what ends in P5.
He had he actually drove the wheels off that car. I'm not a massive Sainz fan, but that amazing race. Let's talk about real quick because we're already at 47 minutes. Oh my God. Real quick, let's talk about Williams, Aston, and Haas. Let's start with Aston. It's gonna be the smallest of the conversations.
Aston they had such an anonymous sort of race, except where Fernando tried to take out my guy Albon. That is a racing incident at I get it. I actually feel that the Hulkenberg coming off and coming back on was the root cause of that. But they chose not to investigate that. So they were, props to Stroll. He's, outperforming his Fernando. So, we're talking about a very small gap here. But yeah, they have some points. They both got points. I think ultimately it was an okay day.
I think they're heading in the right direction now.
It's better than it has been, and yeah, I agree. And it sounds like they got some off-track stuff that's going to start working out for them. They think they're getting Newey, but he's going to Williams. So,
and then we'll get into Haas real quick because I just need they have legitimately become maybe the fifth fastest team out of nowhere.
Well, the one thing is a big talking point is, that's got a Ferrari engine in it, and they are beating. I think they all qualified. Well, certainly Leclerc.
If it wasn't for K-Mag, and it was a weird strategy thing, that wasn't his fault. 100%. That car, good race pace.
And they put some big upgrades on that too.
And it worked.
The whole Ayo Komatsu stewardship is absolutely awesome. I really like it. I'm stoked about them with the Behrman thing. P6s, that's absolutely bananas.
For Haas, that is
absolutely nuts. So
can you even fathom 2 Williams P6 finishes?
That's like the Super Bowl. 2 days in a row, you win it.
And this car is, we'll get into this more in the next podcast. I want to get into this speculation because we have a triple header, which means 2-week gap. But okay, now we'll get into go ahead. I'll wait.
What are you going to talk about? Look, I think Albon with points. I set it up again where I had lined up the main feed on the TV, and I had Albon's on board the whole time with his radio on. That was a fight, considering there was definitely damage. I don't know. I think they played it on the main feed where Logan says a giant piece of bodywork just flew off of Albon's car, and then Albon swooped Sargent right then. He's like, no, this is no. You don't remember how we do this. I always beat you. So I was very impressed, and he made the right call. He went on to the mediums again. for that second stop. He got burned. I think Albon definitely had a shot at more points. I think he could have been up there fighting with the Astons for sure. But that first stop onto Inters, it was like a 9.5. Right. It was a long stop. He was not pleased with it. So I think it's a successful day. I think that it's too little too late for Logan, in my opinion, and my guess. I'm guessing it's probably too little too late for him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But, it was so fun for him. He gets into Q2. Look, he didn't screw the pooch. He maintained pace. P11 is nothing to sneeze at, especially considering the car and the conditions. So I think Logan has every right to be proud about that, and I think that was good. I mean, I really wish this was, we were talking about this in Saudi. What was the first race? Anyways, earlier in the season, I feel differently, but at the midway point, I just don't know. I don't know, and we'll save other speculation for later this week.
Yes.
So I think all in all, it's everything's relative. That was Williams' best day.
Williams just looked quick. They just looked. I shouldn't say quick. They just look good.
I think they have an issue. They have a tire deg problem, and their car performs better in cooler conditions, and it was
perfect.
Yeah. So I think, and you throw in the rain. The inner tires, I think, is like the great equalizer. It kind of bunches the field. Everybody's going the same speed. So I'm stoked about it. We got 2 points.
Hey,
I do think it's funny that I get like the newsletter from Williams, and it's got a race recap, and the way they phrased it was, and Williams doubled their point haul for the season. And you're like, okay, but that's 2 + 2. So yes, you did double it, but the way you're writing it is just trying to make it sound better than it is.
You're exaggerating here.
And who else we got in there?
Well, I think we've kept you guys long, so let's get into our grades and we'll get through these.
We'll have to be snappy about it.
We'll be rapid. Starting with the boys from Williams, Alexander Albon and Logan Sargent. What did you give them?
I give, because of who he is, Albon an A+, and Sargent a B. Look, I'm 100% biased. He's the best driver in my opinion, and he will continue to get high marks from me.
Wow. Teacher bias.
Deal with it.
Alexander
Albon,
my
favorite student.
He is definitely your favorite student. Fernando Alonso is your favorite class clown. Alexander Albon got a B+ for me. I just did that because you gave him an A-. I'll give him an A-. I didn't give him an A+, and it wasn't really his fault, but the incident at the start. And then I'll drop Logan down to a B+ because actually he was there with Albon. I mean, he finished 20 seconds behind him.
He was there.
But he was there.
I mean, even in qualifying, you get eliminated, but when you're off by tenths of a second,
He had a great qualifying.
He was there. He was there.
He pieced together a full weekend. We'll talk about this, but this is the team that is god awful. I mean, just the Formula 2 car at this point kicks out.
I don't know how well they do there either, to be honest. That's extreme, but and the problem is that we're rating drivers. We should grade teams.
I know,
because you're only as good as the equipment you're working with. I gave, because I feel like a C- for Bottas is harsh because he can't do much. But I gave him a C- and Joe a C+ for first time he out-qualified his teammate.
Okay.
However, I do believe I got the dead last finisher correct, and I think it was Joe.
Oh yeah. Oh, we need to go over that quickly too. Okay,
I couldn't find this, but yeah. So, anyways,
Valtteri, I gave a C- as well because he got out-qualified by Joe. I gave Joe a C, out-qualified Bottas, and his race result was not really his fault. They put him on a ridiculous strategy. The team that had one car start this race, Alpine.
As
sorry,
a raw
Pierre
deal
Gasly and Esteban Ocon.
I gave Gasly a C. It wasn't a great weekend. He beached his car in FP1. He no fault of his own. I mean, he already had a 50 place grid penalty, and he didn't finish the formation lap. Or I guess he did, but that was it. Right. I gave him a C. Ocon gets a D. I think he screwed the pooch in qualifying, where he could have done another lap. That might be, he may have had help with his team on the pit wall. And then he had a Noah race, and he was, I think he got lapped twice.
Which was very fun to see. Esteban Ocon got a D- for me, and I gave Pierre Gasly a D because to no fault of his own, but he didn't really put up a time in qualifying, and there's no reason for him to. But
I actually was thinking about that. Knowing you have that penalty, like, what is the point?
Yeah.
Is it just for the exercise of it, or because you would think, especially with the wet track,
data.
Like, hey, maybe let's not put our car in jeopardy and potentially in the wall.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. Haas.
Apparently I'm feeling like a proud American right now. Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen.
Hulk, for me, A+. Driving the pants off that car. K-Mag gets to see he had kind of a nowhere, some iffy strategy calls, and I mean, you start from the back, you finish in the back. It sucks, but especially when you can see what his teammate can do in that car. I think that's where the grade gets lower because there's clearly potential.
Yes, I gave Nico Hülkenberg A+. And a Haas P6 is insane. And then I gave K-Mag a B- because the qualifying was not his fault. The team did not want him. There was some weird call. And then he finished P12, which is not...
That's not bad.
And I'm looking at the driver standings now. Nico Hülkenberg is 1 point away from passing Lance Stroll.
That's wild.
In what world? Okay. Well, the surprise point finish that we didn't really talk about because he's just the GOAT and we expect this from him. Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo from Visa Cash App RB V Carbs team.
I gave Tsunoda a B+. Kind of he had a decent race. He kind of just treaded water. I spent a lot of Albon's onboard watching. It is like he just like Albon get closer and closer and closer, then fall back and get closer and closer and closer. Then he had that 9-second pit stop, and you're like, son of a... And he, so, yeah, you did okay. I gave him a B+. Ricardo gets a C+. He also had... It was kind of weird with all the action at the front. They really didn't show the midfield at all. Like, you're just... That's why there was a lot of C's on yours. Well, it was sort of average.
Yeah, and I feel like they show less radio now, too. There's some things I miss about the 40-second max domination era. I'm just kidding. I gave Yuki Tsunoda A-. It seems like this car has taken a major step down, and to get points with it, or a point with it, congratulations. And I have slight Yuki Tsunoda bias. Danny Rick, B-. He was kind of... the car is not great right now, and I felt like he had a solid weekend. He was like a step behind Yuki, but he wasn't... He was pretty much there.
Yeah.
Pretty much there.
I think we'll have a lot to talk about on Thursday's show.
Oh, yeah. We'll fly through these next ones. Aston Martin, Lance Stroll, Alonso.
Stroll gets a B. Alonso gets a B-, only because Stroll outperformed here.
I gave Stroll a B+. He has, for some reason, been getting the best of Alonso recently, and Alonso a B. Mercs, Lewis, Hamilton, George Russell.
I think this is easy. Hamilton obviously gets the A+. What a solid day for him. And really a solid weekend, starting P2. And Russell gets an A for me. I mean, he just didn't win. And he got screwed, but the pole was impressive.
Yep.
Yeah.
I gave Lewis Hamilton an A++. And George Russell an A. Very sad for my boy. McLaren. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri.
Sort of a curve here. Lando Norris I gave a B just to irk you a little.
Wow.
And Piastri, I'm actually going to give him an A minus. I realize he plays farther back, but I think I was just more impressed with his decision making and how he performed. So,
yeah, I'm giving both the boys A minuses. I think they both there's a little bit of bias, but they both drove very, very well and qualified very solid. And it was just strategy that kind of bit them in the arse, which I'm not going to fully blame on them. So they get A minuses. Scuderia Ferrari HP now. Scuderia Ferrari HP.
I'm changing the signs. I gave an A. I think he had a solid race. He just wasn't as fast as the guys in front of him. And Leclerc gets a C. I don't think it was his weekend.
I'm going to give Leclerc a C as well. And I also gave Sainz an A. I think he literally, it's kind of a weird world that Sainz drove the pants off a car and he's in P5 and Hülkenberg drove off the pants of a car and Haas is P6. It's a conversation for another day.
Leclerc's had trouble since he wins Monaco. And then something's off. All right.
Red Bull, Checo Perez and Max Verstappen.
I'm really sorry, Checo. I know you've been around a long time, and you've definitely had successes. Heck, you were P2 in the drivers last year. You're getting an F for absolutely failing all over the place. So, look, your race was already screwed because of how you qualified. Yeah, we'll get into this on Thursday, but this is not good. F for him. Verstappen, I give an A. He clearly didn't have the fastest car, but he made the right decisions and put himself in the best position. I don't think he was going to win. Maybe with a few more laps, he could have caught Hamilton, but you know what? It was only 52. So, but I do give him an A for a really all-around solid performance.
Checo Perez gets an F minus. Genuinely could not have had a worse weekend. And I know he got a tough strategy call, but we'll dive into this. Don't worry, people. Max Verstappen gets an A. Drove incredibly in a car that clearly was lacking something this weekend. Now let's really quickly go over our predictions. The reason you can't find them, I think, is because we didn't put them on the doc because we were trying to keep it hidden from each other.
Yeah.
Oh, did you lose that paper?
I gotta remember where I got it over here.
I don't know where I put mine now, actually. Uh-oh. Somewhere in here. Hold on. There we go. Okay. We'll fly through these. Dead last finisher. We both got a point.
Yeah.
Both said Joe, which I think I'm going to continue to say. What was your crazy prediction?
I predicted an incident between the two Mercedes.
Ooh.
I don't know if this... the way I wrote it was between Hamilton and Russell. I don't think...
Nope.
I don't think that... it doesn't... It's only an incident, but I don't think that counts, yeah.
I said Max Orlando has a DNF.
Well, darn.
Pole position.
Pole, I had Piastri.
I had Lando. Podium.
Piastri, Max, and Lando.
Dang it!
You
got 2 points.
2 out of 3 on that one.
I had Lando, Piastri, Lewis. Oh no, this scoreboard is turning south quickly.
Yep. Well,
it is 6
your elders and
listen. I have Formula One knowledge like no other. All right, I agree. This is really
long.
A bomb of an episode.
Yeah. If you're still with us, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We are an hour and 5 in. I am starving. I'm about to go eat some dinner like nobody's business and cry about McLaren. But we will see you guys on Thursday. We got so much stuff to talk about.
There's just too much to talk about.
There's much to talk about.
Yeah. So, and $10 says Sainz still hasn't chosen a team by then.
Probably. Well, we will find out then. You guys have a great week. We'll see you on
Thank you so
Thursday. Bye-bye.
Bye.